Hey everybody, welcome to TVS Talks, where we have real conversations with real people about stories you don't always get to hear. I'm Yvonne, and here we go beyond the headlines and into the heart of the story. So let's talk about it. I'm really excited about this conversation because we're discussing something people are always curious about, what it's actually like growing up in Hollywood with a celebrity family. So today I'm sitting down with Eden Feldman, brother of Corey Feldman, to talk about his experiences, his perspective, and some of the real life moments that most people never get to hear about. Eden, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me. It's great to be here, Yvonne.
Well, let's dive in. I want to ask some questions and feel free to be as open as you like. What was your earliest memory of realizing your family life was different from most kids because of Hollywood?
Well, I don't know if there was one memory in particular. I would say that it's kind of a combination of memories, all from right around the same time, which is probably going back to around 3-4 years old. One, going to amusement parks was not just like going to an amusement park as a normal kid or, as with a family, that's like a normal family. We always had security that would walk us around to the front of every line, because without security provided by the park on top of the security that my brother would bring, there would literally be just a mob of kids and people autograph seeking. And so we would get to the point where if you were at a Six Flags or Disneyland or something like that you had literally 500-600 people surrounding you, and it just didn't stop after that. And it got to a point where my little brother Devin and I would be with Corey and kind of like looking at each other after like an hour of him signing autographs and taking pictures. Like, we just go now? Can we just go on a ride? And Corey is not like that, so we wanted to address all the fans, and oftentimes that was many hours.
That must have been really exciting for you, though, as a kid.
Yeah, no, there was definitely a level of excitement to it. There was definitely this kind of energy of there's always something cool and different going on that you're participating in, and that when you go back to school, other kids, you don't really even talk about it that much because it's just so out there. I mean, even let's just say the Goonies rap party. I was probably about 8 years old, somewhere around there. Or actually, no, I'm sorry, about 6 years old. And I, for the first time, started drinking, and it was, while everybody else, the cast and the crew and everybody, my mom, everyone, was doing their own thing kind of. And so my little brother and I snuck away. And so I started taking sips of whatever kind of champagne or, whatever was left in the little plastic cups on the tables. I'm just smashed by the time, I don't know, 30, 45 minutes later. So I end up on the soundstage where the pirate ship was being held. Well, I just remember it was a really slick surface. So just kind of trying to keep my balance and walking around on there while drunk, buzzed for the first time. Yeah, and then another example is, so, mentioning going back to school and how a lot of kids wouldn't understand. My first date was actually with somebody who you knew. She's no longer with us. But our friend Nicole, in third grade, she was the prettiest girl in school. Everybody wanted, to date her and talk to her. I mean, whatever you could do with, in third grade, as far as dating goes. But everybody wanted to talk to her and claim her to be their girlfriend. And one of the things that made her so cool is not only was she super pretty, but she was also kind of a tomboy. And so she would bring Playboy magazines to school. And so all of us boys loved that, obviously. And, we'd all gather around. And anyway, so it was pretty funny because I was too shy to actually ask her out myself. So I had my grandmother call her mom and say, hey, look, they're going to the premiere of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles live action film, which Corey was in. And my grandson wants to know if you'll be his date, if your daughter will be his date. She agreed on behalf of her daughter and set it up. And so we go pick her up in a stretch limo, and it's me, my little brother, and my mom, and some other family members. And when we arrive, we go out to this massive red carpet. All the media is there. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was huge at the time. As we're making our way down the red carpet, we get to the doors of the theater, and we start to do an Entertainment Tonight interview. And I just remember, looking at her and just this whole look of like complete like shock and just didn't even know how to really respond to the moment. Mm-hmm. And I was like, yeah, this is not a typical first date.
Wow, I'm sure she had a great time on her first date with you. And yes, Nicole will be very much so missed. So I wanted to ask you also, since we're talking about your childhood, what was your favorite thing to do as a kid when you weren't around the entertainment world?
So when I wasn't around the entertainment world, honestly, I just wanted to be a kid. It was really difficult to find a balanced and normal, or as close to normal as possible, childhood. We all worked within the entertainment industry. So it wasn't just like Corey or my older sister, Mindy, who was in the Mickey Mouse Club, and she was also a working actress. It wasn't like it was just them. It was my little brother, my little sister, myself, and every day consisted of going on auditions. A lot of actors would kill to have 2-3 auditions a day, but we were pretty much given that every day. And that was based on, how hot Corey was at the time. So every casting director in town wanted to see us, and whether that be for the part that we were actually, going to audition for, or if they just wanted to have us on film so they could like look back later for other roles that they were casting, or just to meet you and have a general idea of what it is you do. What
was your favorite audition that you went on off the cuff?
Okay, so I'll tell you. So I actually had a really cool one with, it was for a commercial with a basketball player who was a hero of mine. It was Karl Malone. Now, Karl Malone was the power forward on the Utah Jazz. He was huge in the 80s and 90s, one of the best of all time. And I remember I was in the audition, and I was running lines with the casting director, but I was looking at the cutout of Karl Malone that was supposed to be, filling it for him. So, I mean, I don't know. I just thought it was really cool. I didn't end up getting that, but I just thought it was really cool.
Okay. Well, you've mentioned that your dad was part of the music scene and your mom worked at a popular Hollywood club. It's a really pretty unique environment to grow up around. When you think back to your childhood, what did home actually feel like to
you? So home was tumultuous. Home was difficult. Home was almost a constant battle. I mean, home life was literally prepping for the next day as we try to finish out the day that we're currently, on. So what does that mean? So that means like finishing out the day means getting your homework done, even if you're in the car coming back from Hollywood at 9 p.m. at night and you're sitting in the back seat with the light, that little light on, and that's all you have to kind of work with. And then we had to run lines, our sides, which sides are basically a few pages of a script. And depending on how many auditions we had the following day, if it was, 1 to 3 or 4 or whatever it was, we had to remember those lines. But it's not just remembering the lines, it's also remembering the cues. It's also remembering how to emote during certain times and, what kind of emotion you're supposed to be showing and facial expressions and the whole deal. You were constantly in work mode and you were constantly in battle mode. And then there was yelling and fighting and throwing of stuff and, all of that kind of like negative energy as well. On top of the fact that you were already stressed about having to, be successful the next day at work and then figure out what to do about school as well.
Do you think having that type of upbringing has played a big role in how you do business today?
I don't do business with people that I don't feel and I don't vibe with. So that's super important.
Yeah. I've known you for a couple decades now, and I remember seeing you doing business back in the day in Hollywood, Playboy Mansion parties, limos, all the big events, the galas. You have a pretty impressive resume, I must say. And what do you think is one of your favorite maybe events that you've either attended or that you were a part of or that you helped produce? Because I know you wear so many different hats.
I could sit here and go into the whole, City Gala, City Summit, the Brigade Brotherhood events that we did, which were legendary. I mean, we had the biggest of big A-list celebrities, philanthropic billionaires. Our network was, completely created on, paying it forward, giving back, working with small to mid-sized entrepreneurs and business owners, people that wanted to be in the same room with some of these really unique, world-changing people. I could say all that, but the reality of it is absolute favorite event slash club night. So I was doing clubs for a good 10 years. And that's where we met in LA. So before I started moving into these really high end events, I worked the club circuit as a promoter in Los Angeles. And, it was a very exciting time. In LA, it was such a huge part of vibe out there that you would literally run into everybody from celebrities to, all the playboys and billionaires and everybody. And we'd all be hanging out in the same place. And you have gangsters and thugs who, and everyone's cool. Everyone's getting along. Everyone is just kind of, doing their own thing. So we used to do a club called Truck Stop. And it was at a venue called Excess. And Truck Stop was really fun and unique because during this time, this is the time of during the show, the OC, and in the early 2000s. And we had all those people, our regular attendees. And then we had some really cool, DJs. We had DJ Z Trip, who at that time, and DJ AM, and they were very much the engineers and pioneers of the whole mashup world. But we would do things where in the front had girls in bikinis and we, made it feel like a real kind of strip club in there. And it would be playing hip hop. Then you go into the back room and it's a total trucker vibe where everyone's walking around. And this is during the days when Von Dutch hats were just getting big and, everything was all trucker style. It was really a play on the culture of just kind of not really caring at that point what we did. So we just tried to get as inventive as possible. So we would have, not only did you have hip hop in one room and then, rock and country and all that in another room. And that wasn't really happening at that time. It was mainly EDM clubs around LA and then some hip hop here and there. I mean, one time we brought a tractor in and we sat it right in the parking lot. We brought in a chicken coop with a chicken that was right at the front door, barrels of hay. And I mean, this is not something that you run into typically in Los Angeles. No. But the best part is that later that particular night when we did all that, we had a huge night. We ended up back at my business partner Hayden's place in Marina Del Rey. And one of the DJs who used to be his neighbor also was this guy named Nick Nasty. And he's just a crazy man. I can't even begin to tell you. He said and did some of the most shocking things I've ever seen. And you really understand what he said sometimes. But we're all hanging out back at Hayden's place. It's 6, 7 in the morning. In walks Nick with the chicken under his arm, and he's in the coop. And we're like, what happened to you? And why did you take the chicken? He's like, oh, someone had to take responsibility for the chicken. It was and he had this whole crazy story. And I was just dude, you went over with a chicken under your arm.
Sounds like something that would happen in Hangover.
It was pretty similar. We had a lot of nights like that.
Well, it sounds like an exciting time to be alive. Do you think that we're one of the last generations that got to experience that type of lifestyle in Hollywood?
Oh, for sure. Mm-hmm. Hollywood had always been known as a place of, debauchery and a place where people could kind of be freaks and have fun and just be free about who they really are. Just anything is pretty much accepted. We were very open-minded in Los Angeles. And that goes back, to the 50s and 60s. And unfortunately, our generation, which kind of, to me, the club part of it ended around 2014, 2015. I mean, COVID is really what kind of saw the end of it. But it was weird because it was still from the 80s, from what my brother and others who would party back then would explain to me. Then they were partying. It was my brother would hang out with Sam Kinison and Axl Rose and River Phoenix, and that was his in the 80s, his Hollywood experience. I partied with my brother a lot in Hollywood, and he did introduce me to a lot of the club owners and the GMs. And so even at 14 years old, when I started going out with him, I started meeting all the right people. It was easy for me to transition into being a promoter and kind of making that my life for a little bit. But it was great because it really did help me learn the industry. But yeah, that was definitely a time where I don't think it's a bygone era. I don't think we're ever going to see that again, where you have that level of everybody wanting to be in the LA scene. I mean, people would wait outside of clubs for hours to try to get in. And it would be crazy because we would just roll up, walk right in. We usually had a huge group with us. And, I don't even know if that happens anymore.
Well, speaking of your brother, Corey, I see that past interviews and reels are trending all over again.
In Hollywood was and is and always will be pedophilia.
He's been talking about his experiences in Hollywood for years.
Kids are scared,
About the abuse, the pressure, all of it. And at different times, people really didn't know what to make of it. But now, with everything that's come out more recently with like the Epstein files and all those big conversations, it feels like there's definitely a different lens on it. Would you mind sharing with us your perspective of this?
Sure. This is something that I've been thinking about for quite some time now. Obviously, growing up, Corey would share, bits of information here and there. I would hear things throughout the industry, from others. And I again, I was so young, I didn't really know what to make of it. And then as we got older and Corey, in the last 15 years or so, really kind of like stepped up, his campaign of trying to spread this knowledge and trying to, be a whistleblower and bring attention to, this really important subject. And one of the things that I always did, I believe my brother. It's not like he's not a liar. I don't think he was someone who is making these things up, but at the same time, he tends to exaggerate. That's just who he is. Everything is just so much grander and bigger when he tells a story.
He's very theatrical.
Yeah, very theatrical. I'm a little bit like that too, so I get it. But what's interesting is would always dismiss some of his claims as outrageous and wild, not in terms of what happened as far as the abuse and stuff like that. That I did believe, but it was more so about like the attempts on his life and the different things that he would experience after, bringing this stuff to light. So it was about a year ago now, maybe a little bit less, that I was watching the abused women from the Epstein files, or at least, a good portion of them, standing on the steps of, standing at the foot of the steps of Congress, where they were joined by Marjorie Taylor Greene and some other members of Congress. Not only the experience that they unfortunately had to go through at such a young age, but it was more so what really caught my attention and made my ears perk up, how they had people stalking them, how they had people, constantly sending them emails that were threatening and that were calling them a liar and making accusations. But it wasn't really just that even. It was also when they started mentioning the attempts on their lives. So it wasn't just the fact that they also mentioned attempts on their lives, but it was the way they were done. And there was a lot of similarity between their stories and the stories that my brother had been telling me for years prior to that, based on how, he was being pursued. And, he's been fighting a constant battle, and a lot of it people know about, and a lot of it people do not know about. And a big part of what's been happening to him is he's just been under constant attack by the Wolf Pack. And this is a group of online hackers, people that basically, are either funded or they go out of their way somehow, and they are financed somewhere somehow. But they go out of their way to try to destroy Corey's reputation. They go out of their way to try to bury the truth. And this is an ongoing battle. It's not just the entertainment industry. It's not just in the world of politics or the world of business. This is our reality, is that it goes all the way up to the top. And these are all just different arms, or these are all just different branches of the same tree.
Corey's so lucky to have you as his brother and to have him as that support cast and part of the family. So speaking of doing things with your brother, you've talked about meeting Michael Jackson and spending time at Neverland Ranch, which for a lot of people almost feels like this mythical place out there. But when you first met Michael Jackson and experienced that world, what was your personal impression of him?
Well, the first time I met him was not actually in person. It was on the phone. And it was like right around Hanukkah, Christmas time. And I think I was probably about 6 or 7 also. This is right around the time of Goonies, because that's where they met, was on the set of Goonies. Yeah. So Corey, we're in our den, and it's me, my little brother, and Corey. and Corey's on the phone with him, and we were kind of just like playing. Devin and I were playing somewhere in the vicinity, and we knew he was on the phone with him, but it was like that wasn't gonna like deter us from playing with our toys. But then he goes, Corey goes to me, he goes, "Hey, do you guys want to talk to Michael?" And so we're like, "Yeah." So we run over to the phone, and Michael was just like, "Hey, happy holidays," or I think he said happy Hanukkah to us. You guys having fun? You enjoying what are you doing? What are you up to? Da, da, da. Hey, we're just playing. And he's like, "Hey, look." So, and this is right when the Transformers toys they hadn't been released yet. And the Transformers cartoon was huge, and it was like G.I. Joe and Transformers. Those are our two favorite cartoons. Oh, and He-Man. He said, "I'm going to send you some gifts for Hanukkah." And we said, "Great." And I didn't know what to expect. And it was an early release version of like the Transformers. I think I got Optimus Prime, I want to say. I can't remember what Devin got. But yeah, from Michael, we got the Transformer toys that were released, that hadn't been released yet. And he had them, like he had everything early. Like that was one of the coolest things about it, is that like you could go there and you could see movies that were still in the theaters, and they'd be playing in his private theater. He had everything, all the toys, all the cool fun stuff really early. Every manufacturer didn't get it to him.
That's so awesome. And then he shared it with the kids that would come over to Neverland. All the toys.
Yeah. I mean, all that stuff was there. I mean, there were so many different areas to it, and there was a huge toy room that had some really cool, unique stuff. But yeah, no, Neverland was quite the experience. It's like every kid's fantasy pretty much, and it was a great escape for a lot of these kids who, for them being hospitalized or being impoverished, they were not able to even envision something like this. And the fact that they were able to have that experience, I'm sure it meant a lot to them.
Was he there every time you went to Neverland, or were there times you were there and he wasn't there?
No, actually, I never saw him there. Every time that I went to Neverland, he was gone. Well, what they would do is you'd have to set it up. Corey would set it up through Michael's assistant. And usually Michael, at this time in his life at least, was spending a lot of time at his villa in Europe. I think it was in France, but don't quote me on that. But he was there a lot. And so Neverland was really just kind of, it was yours for that weekend, and that went for all the kids, everybody who showed up, families, kids, friends that he had come over. It was like you had at your disposal this whole staff that not only had to operate the theme park, but you had to have, for the petting zoo, you had, remember he had a giraffe like in the petting zoo, right? So we go inside to where the giraffe is housed, kind of like a big barn. And, you have to climb the ladder to get to the face to face with the giraffe. And you got this big old giraffe face, like, right in your face. And I remember I pet it on its head, and I didn't know this. Giraffes secrete an oil that will not come off your hands. Like no matter how many times you wash them,
I didn't know that.
Weeks, and it was just not just oil, but it smelled really bad. Like
oh, no.
I mean, it was pungent. And I remember walking around for about 7 to 10 days with a hand that just stung. But it was cool because it was almost like a hand of honor, a badge of honor, and that was a cool, unique experience that came along with it.
Wow, that's a good memory. Well, looking back now, some people believe that he was unfairly targeted and set up. From your perspective, what feels true to you?
From my perspective, Michael Jackson was nothing more than a good human being, a guy who, tried to see the best in the world and in others and in everyone that he would come in contact with, I think. And life was hard for him. Life was hard. It's hard growing up in fame. It's hard growing up in a world where everything is dictated by what others think. And that's how, your family expects you to act, or how, to produce money, or, be a business and industry, which is what the Jackson family 100% was. It was an industry. The Feldman family, in a lot of ways, we were similar. Obviously, we didn't have the kind of success that they had, but I think he got a really raw deal. I think Michael, at the end of the day, I think it's going to come out, and people will understand that in this world of true predators, of true criminals, of true just disgusting individuals, he wasn't one of them.
Thank you for sharing that. I also want to thank you for keeping it real with us today, Eden. I think conversations like this really remind us that the surface never really tells the whole story. Life brings the pressure, but you get to decide who you become.
Very well said. Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
Well, before we sign off, tell us where we can find more fascinating stories and behind the scenes about your life.
Sure. So I'm actually working on a project right now. It's a literary project, and the goal of this is not to just really talk about my life per se. It's more to kind of capture the energy of growing up in Los Angeles from the 80s into the 2000s. And that doesn't just mean Hollywood. That means like everything that came along with growing up in Los Angeles. And for me, that meant, being in a tagging crew. That meant, doing stuff that wasn't necessarily, abiding by the law. Being on the streets as a kid. My mom kicked me out when I decided at 13 years old that I was just done acting and I no longer wanted to go on auditions every day. And it was a big thing. So I ended up, on the streets for a while. And so it has those elements of it. It has successes and failures and, all the things that make the human experience what it is. From the perspective of someone who supposedly has this incredible life, from the outside looking in. But, things from the outside looking in, when it comes to entertainment, you can never really believe what you're seeing. I'm really trying to get some real LA stories out there for people to kind of wrap their heads around.
Oh, I love that. I can't wait to have you back on the podcast and talk about your book further in detail once you drop it.
No, I can't wait to be back. Hopefully you'll have me.
I definitely will. Well, thank you all for joining us on TBS Talks. If this conversation resonates with you, share it, start the dialogue, and stay connected because we're just getting started. Until next time.
Bye.